What up, y'all? It is the show. Pretty simple. Continuing our Dungeon World campaign with Saga of Broken Blades number 14. We're right about to descend into Gusabi's tomb. Hope y'all are doing good. What up?
But yeah, I'd say I'd go to Aldi's.
Hello? Okay, it's working.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, I'm trying out the dungeon ambiance on this campaign too. So there will be audio coming out your browser.
We've discovered that Lewis is actually an American.
Was he doing it as an American accent?
He was.
That I was wondering what Bean was laughing at so hard, but yeah, I think I've heard it before. It's very funny. You want to do a little?
It's so convoluted. I'll just reach over and grab my credit card.
You sound actually very similar to when Sada plays, the streamer does it. And I think the reason is, I think to an Englishman, all Americans talk like John Wayne. I think that's what it is. Basically, we're walking around like, howdy, pilgrim.
Well, look at this over here.
Oh yeah, I also had a thought. It's a fucked up thought, but I'm gonna run it by you guys. Specifically, Miller, Zeus, and Bean. Do you guys have anything going on after we play Dungeon World? Would you be interested in potentially playing more tabletop and continuing through the dungeon in our other campaign as well today? Or if not, that's cool too. I just realized, oh shit, we might be able to play some on that too, if you're interested.
I actually have to head over to a friend's house after this.
Alright.
Bummer.
Well, anyway, let's get into the feel of it here. Saga of Broken Blades. We're on the 14th session, which is actually Season 2, Episode 4. And if you do the math, it's actually the 15th session. But one of them was a 0 session. You can do that type of algebra.
This game has way too much crunch for me.
I know. Probably the crunchiest. So we got our cast of outlaws. The band of Broken Blades. Bruce, Etta, Oscar, Sigmund. We finished up last episode, which I deemed Wicked Cargo. With the party breaking down their camp at the entrance of Gusabi's tomb. About to head down and start exploring. I drew a little bit. You should be able to see, right? Y'all are on the right page? Yeah. Of the first chamber. But I've purposefully kind of tried to leave it not planned so it can kind of freeform it. I'm probably going to even have y'all start drawing in the future areas here. This is the first time, I think, in this campaign, for sure, I'm running a dungeon in Dungeon World, so should be pretty fucking fun. I feel like in Dungeon World it works best doing it scene by scene like we do. So I imagine scene one is all of you at the entrance to the tomb itself. Let me describe it a little bit here. What time of day would you enter Gusabi's tomb?
Early in the morning. First
First
thing.
thing. Yeah.
Would someone, while we're talking here, go ahead and... I kind of like using letters. I was thinking about putting tokens out here, but something about the letters, I think it's because it's like we're playing NetHack or something. Would someone put different color letters out there for you guys so we can use those as tokens? So it's first light. Still that semi-dark period as the sun is coming up. The entrance to the tomb itself is massive. You remember from last episode where you had fought the Devourer that was within that caravan. The terrain was kind of, there was a small stream, there are small stands, well, comparatively to a forest, small stands of trees, kind of foothills coming up toward, in fact, I'm going to briefly morph us to the lovely overworld map. Whoa! Oh man, I haven't watched Wayne's World in so long. You can see it actually is in some hills here. Whereas the wreck caravan would be where the Volcar was starting to thin out to the north toward them hills. Anyhow. As you were approaching the tomb, you could see it pretty far off because the entrance is massive. It's built into the side of a particularly craggy hill, covered with kind of short, stubborn grasses, but still pretty stony. It's a simple post and lintel, so 2 vertical pillars and 1 straight horizontal slab over top, but they're carved out of huge, well, maybe not even carved, it looks like huge individual slabs of some strange black basaltic stone were used. And the stones themselves are etched with massive, what's the word I'm looking for here? Characters of giant's tongue, but you know, each letter is like taller than Bruce. Going up vertical and then also horizontally across, though they're faded much by time and they have moss and lichen growing on them. The entrance into the tomb is completely pitch black, though you can dimly see that stairs lead down into some sort of antechamber. What do you do? Scene 1. The entrance to the tomb. The air is crisp. It's going to be a nice warm day. It is the morning of the 65th day of spring in the first year of the band.
Well, although it's a nice, crisp morning, Sigmund is cautious. He's learned particularly skills to make sure that he would be able to disarm traps and navigate a tomb. So I think he's going to want to discern realities to see if there's anything he should be on the lookout for.
So, I actually do like to pull up the rules on here. I need to start doing that when I'm bothering to do the streams and the videos of our Labyrinth Lord game is pull up the rules on the main screen, or at least talk about them in depth so that people can use it to try to learn too, because this shit is complicated. Anyway, I'll pull up the move here since it's easy to do. About this dungeon ambience, is that alright? Can you hear it enough?
Yeah.
I don't want it to be overwhelming, but I want it to be there. That's really cool that they added so much. I didn't use it before because they had such a limited selection where you can use, but now they've added like everything. So Sigmund is closely studying this situation. Go ahead and roll your bones there. You're rolling wisdom. So with a 9, he's going to be able to choose one of these questions to ask from the list and take +1 forward when acting on the answers to those questions. So take a peek at the questions. And once you decide on your question, tell me what Sigmund looks like, because you guys are standing in silence right now as he's considering the entrance to the tomb. Like, does he go up and start snooping around on his own? You know, does he stand there and kind of peer sexily at it? Or just let me know how it goes down as well.
But he has to do it in his American accent. He's rifling through his wallet for his credit card.
I really enjoy looking at arches next to the dungeon.
No, your American accent sounds like James from Silent Hill. That's what it is.
That's it. That's the only American I know.
Yeah.
Well, if I've only got one question, the one that I want to... Well, let's set it up. Sigmund is... so as I mentioned before, Sigmund has been trying to learn how to disarm traps, studying books, basically to arm himself. And the most common way that traps are kind of triggered are through loose panels on the floor, or maybe things like buttons or moving panels that you might find in a column. So he's kind of gingerly looking, not inside, but he's sort of gingerly looking at the kind of stonework and seeing if there's anything that he should be on the lookout for. The question is, what should I be on the lookout for?
Sigmund's instincts prove correct. As he approaches the entrance, I would say it's probably at least 50 feet tall, you'd reckon, by at least 30 feet wide. Though it could have collapsed and smaller than it even once was. And as Sigmund approaches these steps, he sees that there are massive slabs of basalt as well, probably 10 feet across each. So the run of each step. He approaches gingerly, hasn't taken a step in at all. He's even kind of leaning from the waist forward a bit and looking at the pillars, the vertical pillars holding up the entrance. In the growing morning light, he can see that there's a razor thin joint between two pieces where it looks like something could maybe swing out from between the from the column itself, if that makes sense.
I wasn't sure what you were describing. Is it like a pressure plate, or is it a switch that would get flipped?
No, like a space in the rock.
Yeah, so imagine like if you were looking at a door frame, and if you looked at like the side, and then you notice there's like a very thin little seam that went all the way up that might contain something that would swing out.
Gotcha, but he didn't find the what sets the trap off, just where it would come out.
Right, because I'm answering the question.
What
should I be on the lookout for?
Okay, I understand. I just didn't have a clear visual in my head of that. Thank you.
All good. That's why I went over it. We good.
So, thinking about how to act on that. So did you say that it was just on the front column, or was it on like...
Yeah, like on that column you're near. Goes, from what you can see, from top to bottom. There's a razor thin seam.
Alright. Well, in that case, I would say Sigmund turns around to the rest of his party and suggests that they move in, but to trust him, and that everybody should lie on their front and crawl in. Because I think something's going to come out of there. So it makes sense to just crawl underneath it.
Wasn't it a vertical?
Yeah, so I'm imagining there's like... Oh, does it go the whole length of the...
It appears to definitely go the full length all the way to the bottom, so that it's even with the first step. And from what you can tell, it goes all the way up. The pillar's, you know, about 50 feet tall or so it's tough to make out the detail all the way to the top.
So...
And juice this up, roleplay this scene out. Your characters are there. Sigmund is concernedly looking at this column. Volan, Oscar, Bruce, Edda are all sitting a few paces back. Maybe concerned about what Sigmund's concerned about.
Could we just sort of jump past it quickly? Or is it so big because it's a giant's tomb that we wouldn't be able to, for example, defy danger dexterity to just sort of roll past it?
Oh, you're asking me?
Well, we don't know what the trigger is.
Roll past what?
It's true. Roll past where the trap comes out.
What trap?
It's actually a credit card slot.
How do you know this isn't a giant, Mark?
In a way, I guess we don't, but...
Get into your character's mindset. I know we've been playing old school where it's a little more mechanical, but...
Did you say it's like facing us, or is it on the sides of it?
So like, just imagine, you know, look at a doorway if you have one. And imagine if on the right post,
okay,
on the
right
inside, right in the center, there was like a seam that you'd have to get right up on it to see, especially because it's like a black stone, so it kind of blends in, and it goes all the way up to the top.
I thought we were talking about the column in front of us.
No, I'm glad we're getting it pinned down because it's...
Oh, I thought it was the column as well.
It is the
It's the kind of frame, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not that at all. That's like there, but you guys haven't been down in there with any sort of light to see it yet, so you can't see it yet.
Oh, so he's looking at the wall next to it. Sorry,
yeah, now everybody got it. We're talking about what Sigmund... So if you can imagine it, like imagine the scene, again, look at a doorway if you have one. Imagine if it's 50 feet tall, Sigmund's over on the right side looking at the post concernedly, and he's kind of leaning in as to not step onto the first step down. And y'all are maybe a couple paces back, maybe concernedly concerning his concerns. Now we got it.
So I think we're being incredibly cautious, and we don't know that it's a trap for real, but what with this being, well, what Sigmund would know about giant burial, there's definitely a chance that there's something in there that wants to be protected, and it makes sense to protect things at the first hurdle. So I think Sigmund would turn to the group and say, we need to see if this is a trap, so rather than sending a person over the threshold of the tomb, is there something that we can roll across that would be heavy enough that could trigger the trap? And if I could see the trigger, I could disarm it.
Now, this is another perfect use for one of the basic moves. I'll say that much to lure you in. Anytime you're like, oh, is there like a widget we can wee-wob with in the area.
Ed is gonna run back out from the tomb, kind of just
You're
go
not
a
in
couple
the
steps away.
Not in the tomb.
No, yeah, from the entrance of the tomb. Just go a little bit away. So she's gonna look for something useful that they could use that would be heavy, that they could maybe try and set this trap off with. Maybe a discern realities?
Yeah, because if you get it, then one of the options can be what is useful or valuable to me.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. There's also a couple other things, like there's a item called like a adventure something or another, I think, where
Adventuring gear.
just mark off uses where you just grab whatever little random miscellaneous item you need.
Let's see if we can find something before we use up.
Yeah.
Wow.
You find a giant bowling alley and have a giant bowling ball.
So you get 3 questions off the list. And keep in mind, Sigmund, from your discern realities earlier, that you'll take a +1 forward when acting on the answers. So you'll take a +1 forward to the next roll you make involving
this mystery,
this
door frame,
quote unquote alleged innocent before proven guilty trap.
It could just be the door.
Or for a giant credit card. So choose your 3 questions wisely. And again, if you could give me a little flavor of what you're exactly doing. The thing that came to mind for me is, since this is built into the side of a large and particularly craggy hill, you could potentially, something that could be useful if you do that question would be like the boulders, that have tumbled down, the rocks.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. So as the party kind of hems and haws over this suspicious looking column, Etta kind of wanders off on her own away from the temple. She's looking for maybe a piece of the temple that's fallen down, a large boulder, maybe even a tree that's fallen down.
So you're asking what here is useful or valuable?
Yeah, something, roughly the weight of a person, or at least, one of them, not a giant person.
So you do find nearby, in a jumble of rocks and boulders, one of the upper corner chunks of the entrance to the tomb itself. Keep in mind, this motherfucker's 50 feet tall, 30 feet wide at least. It's not small. Like, you look small next to it. Bruce even looks small. Edda feels like she would be able to schlep that back over to the entrance to the tomb itself. And it has part of a giant letter engraved onto it. You got 2 other questions, and again, keep in mind you got +1 forward to your next roll involving one of the answers.
One of the answers or all of the answers?
Well, each one individually. So,
Gotcha.
so far 1.
How about what happened here recently?
Oh man, I thought of something juicy that can happen here. As Edda is snooping through the shale and rocks and boulders that have fallen, she notices some dried and some fresher than others smears of that yellow war paint that the Lugdog clan likes to wear.
I'm writing notes, sorry.
That's all good. And keep in mind, this is happening Edda by herself a few paces away, looking around for something of size here. Meanwhile, Sigmund's looking at the team. Bruce and Oscar still standing a few paces back from the first step, with Volan chilling, his tongue hanging out. You got one more question.
What here is not what it appears to be?
Edda gets the feeling that they are not as alone as the party or the band of Broken Blades is not as alone as they thought they were. And she feels the hairs on the back of her neck stand up like something is looking at her.
Can she tell where that feeling is coming from?
As she turns to carry the...
Oh, she hasn't picked up a stone yet, to be fair.
So she turns to look around, standing next to the chunk. She sees one little, from this distance I guess, orc head. As the light of the morning is coming on, with his little smear of yellow war paint ducking, where at least he appears to be hiding at the top of the entrance to the tomb itself, at the top of the 50-foot by 30 post. He's actually up on top, hiding behind the horizontal piece up there.
Oh, so he's up on the tomb.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Bruce, Oscar, Sigmund haven't noticed them at all. They're focused on the thing. What do you do?
So Edda's gonna go back to her party before she picks anything up and let them know there's Luke Dog here. I see them on the top of the temple, and I see their paint smeared around near the entrance.
What temple?
The the tomb. Gusabi's tomb. Not that it would change our plans, but just fair warning, they're here. Let's see if we can capture a few and not kill them, and figure out why they have an interest in this place.
Or throw them across the threshold and see if they trigger the trap.
Yes, I was just thinking that.
Unfortunately, he looks like he is already in the tomb, so there's gotta be a safe way to get in if the Luke Dog had been able to do it.
Why is he in it?
Oh, I just assumed that if he was up on top, he got up there from the inside.
That's possible, but it's also like
Not necessarily.
Yeah, just if you can imagine. I know nerds don't go outside, but like imagine like a big hill, like huge, like almost a mountain, but because it's rounded on top, it's got stony stuff like tumbled and collapsed all around, and then this is built into the side, but you could potentially like scale up the hill and get up there too, you know. Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
A barrow den in Skyrim.
Yeah,
Yeah, maximized.
we know Skyrim.
Yeah.
She's like, nerds don't go outside, but they know Skyrim.
We know Skyrim.
Gotta put it in so they're relatable.
So, what do you guys want to do about this orc? Should we ignore him for the time being, or address him now?
Well, if they are in here, well, I guess we'll run into him when we do.
What does Tyr think about it, I wonder? The god of the paladin, Edda.
Tyr's given Edda a quest to find the truth of the Luke Dog clan.
Oh, nice.
So why they have an interest in this tomb, she's very curious to know.
She seems pretty passive about things if she's on a holy quest from her god, to me.
It's true.
Bruce is gonna like wordlessly approach where Sigmund is standing, and he's gonna just touch his hand to the dark stone, and then he's gonna reach up and touch Ringgear, seeking guidance from the spirits.
You trying to use one of your heirloom powers?
Yep.
Let me pull that up here. This is all still scene 1, I would say, because you're still the same locale here. Let's see.
Worst case, I fail, and then they attack us.
Oh, that power is called heirloom. So when you consult the spirits that reside in your signature weapon. This is something that Bruce does pretty... I feel like if Bruce ever did that class restart thing, this would be like one of the moves that would come with them for sure. Yeah. Roll it up, man. Based off charisma. Oh, that hurts. Make sure you mark your XP.
The orc attacks.
Alright, let me ponder what exactly I want to do with my first opportunity of the evening here.
Bruce loses a hand to the trap.
This actually went a different way than I thought it would, which is the great thing about Dungeon World, but it's also like a big caution as a Dungeon Master is for Dungeon World games, only plan just enough, because it's not going to go any way you could imagine. And so, if you plan just enough, you'll have what you need, but then you'll be able to roll with it, what goes on or what ideas you have in the moment too. Let's see.
I don't know if we should be concerned, but I have lost every dungeon crawl so far in 2018.
I programmed it in so any of my tabletop players always lose in the chat.
I think I've rolled once in the dungeon. I've succeeded once, so I'm 100%. I'm done.
You know, one of the big reasons why I keep doing heirloom is so I can keep getting experience because it's a +0 for me.
Hold tight. Trying to decide something. Alright. I've decided. What font size did you use for your E?
100.
100?
100.
100.
My font size is 40 because it's appropriately scaled.
So Edda's not actually there right now. I'll put her over here.
You also used a whole word whenever you were told to use a letter.
Bruce
I
went over
used
there,
multiple letters.
right? Because he put his hand to the basalt pillar and then he looked into his blade.
Yeah.
And then with the whiff, here's how I'm going to do this. He feels a dimness from his blade of the spirits of his ancestors ignoring him. But in the polished surface of Hringir, he can see, now that dawn is coming up and there's good light, the yellow smeared, filthy dreadlock, tusk poking out head and shoulder of one of the Luke Dog clan leaning around the edge of this other pillar. Capiche?
He's at ground level or on the top of the pillar?
Yeah, this one's down on ground level.
Okay.
Maybe he was hiding the whole time. What do you do? Anybody can jump in.
Oscar didn't see anything, so.
Well, you can remember this is Dungeon World, so you can be like, yeah, you saw it and everything. It's not like old school where you have to worry if you actually saw it and stuff. It's all for the narrative, so that definitely seems like something Oscar would notice to me.
Oscar's looking forward into the pillars.
Well,
Edda will do something.
So you guys haven't even been in there. You think they're pillars? That's funny.
Bruce is going to turn around and he's going to point at this orc with her gear drawn and start walking towards him, just slowly and menacingly like Darth Vader.
Edda's going to come up from behind him. Her sword's not drawn, but her shield's out.
I mean, you can hack and slash on anything if it's cool.
She's thinking she wants to capture this orc, not kill it.
Mm.
In fact, she reaches into her bag and uses up some of her adventuring gear and pulls out some rope to try and tie this orc up.
How would we want to do this? Capturing somebody.
Mm. It seems like quite a sneaky thing to do. As in, like, you would need to creep up on someone and then... Like,
Yeah, I feel like it'd be a defy danger. Or you could knock them out. I wonder...
Well, I think we need him conscious just for now, because I have a feeling that this guy could maybe help us with our hesitance to actually go through the first door of the dungeon. So I think we should capture him, but keep him.
Well, you
speaking.
can try to do it however you'd like. You could bonk him out, or I would say you could try to do a defy danger to
So it says
Restrain him.
restrain
some
him.
attacks have effects depending on the triggering action, the circumstances, or the weapons involved. An attack can also knock someone down, restrain them, or leave a big bloody splatter with hack and slash.
Yeah, so I was just saying. You can just use hack and slash to bonk him out, or you can, I would say, do something like a defy danger to restrain him, or even something more creative I haven't even thought of.
Go on. Sorry.
I think Etta would shoot a. If he is looking at Bruce and Bruce has his attention held.
That's how we've described it so far. And Bruce actually drew he's got Hringer already, pointed it at him, and he's starting to cross the gap here. Everyone's staying off that first stair though, which is good so far.
Etta would sneak up behind the orc with her shield out and try and bonk him in the back of the head with her shield.
Would you just
call that a hack and
would
slash?
you're just gonna rush him basically and bonk him in the head with your shield?
Try and knock him out.
Go
Try and
for
knock
it.
him out.
Would my trying to call this guy out work as an aid on that?
If you roll it.
Okay. It is +1 for me. It's there.
It looks like that, yes. You'll get a +1 to this hack and slash, Etta.
Very
Nice
good.
roll.
And keep in mind for anybody that's made discern realities and hasn't used their +1 forward yet, that's like a one-time use that goes away when you use it, but it hangs in there for the whole scene, so don't forget about them.
So I could use my +1 forward now, is what you're saying, or I could save it for later?
Do you have one that applies?
Not to this particular orc, but
Then
I would
no.
say the knowing that the orcs
Yeah.
are here.
Knowing that orcs are present.
Yeah, I'll let you use that, yeah.
All
So you actually have a total of +2 on this roll if you'd like it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in fact, you have
Well,
to use it.
It's +3, my own +1, the aid, and then my forward.
Right.
Okay.
Because you're doing...
Good thing I used it.
Jeez Louise.
You only have a +1 strength bonus on Etta?
Yeah.
Etta the needs to hit the gym. So with that result on a hack and slash, you're gonna deal your damage and the enemy will make an attack against you. So how this is gonna go down, I do believe. Let me double check the entry here. Etta approaching from behind can see that this orc, he's about her size but extremely muscular, burly. Got a couple warts and maybe other deformities on him. Filthy dreadlocks. He's got a net. He's got the Luke dog paint smeared on him here and there. She goes to I don't want to describe this. Yeah, she goes to bash him in the back of the head with her shield. Go ahead and did you roll your damage?
No.
and definitely selects or successfully knocks him out unconscious. But as he's falling and collapsing onto her and her shield, she gets stuck with the crude syringe that he was holding in his right hand, prepared to try to use on one of you. And she feels herself start to fade out of consciousness as the orc drug starts to course through her leg. So Edda's kind of kneeling next to this unconscious orc. He had a syringe prepared in one hand and net in the other. When she knocked him out, as he collapsed onto her, he sticks her with the syringe. She can feel it coursing through her veins now, and she's starting to fade out of consciousness. But not right away. She didn't get a full dose. What do y'all do?
Bruce is going to close the gap and help Etta tie the orc up, and then see if she's okay.
All that's like you can just do.
So, is it a toxin? Can I use my antitoxin to help cure that?
What do you got?
An antitoxin cures one poison.
Seems like that'd be a use for that to me.
Yeah, I think I'll pull that out of my belt, hand it to
Give me some
Etta.
juice, some lore, some roleplay. You can't hand it to her, Edda. She's like, eyes are rolling back in her head. She's like leaning back up against the rocks.
Drooling a little.
The orc is loudly snoring.
Yeah, he takes the rope from her, ties the orc up, and slumps it up against the side of the tomb, the column, and he approaches Etta, pulls the syringe out, and starts to like sort of look in her eyes and see that they're rolling around back in the back of her head, and just put the vial of antitoxin to her lips and tilt her head back and trying to get her to swallow it.
So it's a little vial of nasty juice, huh? Alright, alright.
Yeah.
Well, it works. There's no real roll involved or anything. You just gotta use up the resource.
It's gone now.
You weren't in any danger or anything doing that. Though no one's really looking around, Sigmund is enthralled by the potential trap, and Oscar is looking into the dark, the dim outlines of the first chamber of the tomb. Volan is as well. So Etta feels, that cures it, but you can lure it up however you want.
Etta kind of woozily comes to and blinks a couple times and sees Bruce there, and she says there's more. She points up behind him, up to the top of the entrance to the tomb where she saw the first orc.
Does Bruce follow her finger and looks up?
Yeah.
Some 50 feet up, you see two heads this time quickly bob out of sight, but not quick enough. Sigmund is blissfully unaware, probably.
Look at this column.
Or maybe not. Maybe he, it's up to you.
It depends how academic he is. Like, engrossed he is with shutting out the outside world. I think Sigmund. So where would the orcs be on this map? They would be like above the two black lines.
I mean, yeah, like in theory they would be like, like around there or something, but they're actually up on top, like on the horizontal piece. I just didn't draw it in so we could like see.
But I think hearing the sound of like an orc getting his head like caved in with a shield and Bruce running over, I think Sigmund would turn around and ask Bruce what's going on.
So Bruce is like 30 feet away, so you can kind of, can't really whisper, but you can talk to him in a pretty easy tone. He asks what's going on.
It looks like we might be walking into an ambush.
And how many would you say that there are?
At least 2.
And
he's going to tell them there's their Luke Dog clan, and that Edda should be recovering pretty quickly.
Edda's woozily standing up on her 2 feet, and she starts screaming up at the orcs on top of the tomb. She's telling them that she's Edda, paladin of Tyr, and she's here to figure out why they're here. She demands that they come down and face her.
Trying
Like
to use one of your
true
powers?
Mm-hmm.
Which one?
I am the law. I'm giving an NPC an order based on my divine authority.
And the
Oh,
officer
yeah.
kind of barks over, and you expect them to understand you.
We met a couple orcs who spoke a little English.
Just the leader of the clan.
She could also like point at them and then point down if she
They'll
thinks
get
of that.
the idea. You want me to roll?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna roll alongside it then.
You want to roll alongside it?
Yeah.
For what?
We're to interfere, of course. Like, these guys don't even understand you. What are you doing?
Nice.
All right, roll your interfere.
That's true. The orcs don't even really know what Tyr is. I like that.
Bonds, okay.
Yeah, in aid or interfere, you just roll plus bond. And then if you're successful, you'll actually do a -2.
A -2?
I believe so.
Ouch, Oscar.
Let me double check it, but it is a -2, I believe.
Yeah. Last year, just spouting logic.
Why are you trying to cop my style?
One of the best moves in the game, aid or interfere. You can help or hinder someone. You roll the number of bonds you have with them. Then they get a +1 or a -2. So factor in the -2 to your I am the law.
So as she's yelling up, I start yelling at the same time, telling her that they don't understand common.
Nice.
They got the gist.
So on a 7+, they get to pick one of those 3.
Mm-hmm.
After Edda's shouting, she notices a discernible lack of heads popping up anymore. And the only thing she can hear orc-wise is the snoring of the unconscious orc propped up against the left pillar of the tomb entrance. Presumably, she scared them off.
Works for me. All I need is one orc.
All I need to do is pee really bad, So let me take a quick pee break, and then I'll be right back. We're an hour in. We're gonna go for 2 more hours, I believe. That'll put us at 4 o'clock. So I'm gonna pee real quick. Alright, be right back. This should be a quick little AFK, so I'll just leave the screen up. That's very cool with the dice sitting there, and I'll be right back. I just gotta tinkle. Beans going potty too. Now I'm curious how you guys are gonna interrogate an orc.
Well,
As is Oscar.
I have a feeling that that they'll be open to negotiate.
Grunt negotiate.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that it's not going to go anywhere, and Bruce is going to drop him on the step and see what happens.
We'll have to play it out.
While he's unconscious, Eda was thinking she'd search his body.
Yeah, let's kind of. So those other orcs got scared off. So we're. I would say that's like multiple scenes, but we're kind of reset here. We've got the unconscious orc. We got Bruce and Eda there. Oscar has kind of stubbornly stood his ground and even chastised Eda for her foolishness. And Sigmund is... Did you say he was going to approach? I can't remember if you said he was going to move or not. I know you said he was looking over there.
Let's say he has approached where
yeah, slide him right over. And then this is our tableau. Role play it out. Action.
Action. Do you even speak orc?
I'm gonna start doing that. Action.
Eda starts patting down the orc's body carefully. He might have more syringes on him, but she starts rifling through his pockets. She takes away his whatever weapons he might have on him and tosses them out to the side. Looking for clues. Maybe another discern realities.
Credit card?
Orcs only use cash. They can't get a bank account.
You're searching the orc?
Searching the orc, yeah.
And you want to do a discern realities from that?
Mm-hmm. Sound good?
Well, Oscar sees Eda patting down
Roll the
orc.
bones, yeah.
Is there an aid or another interfere?
No, it's a different.
Slaps her hand away. No.
Naughty. What is your alignment?
It's neutral. I'm opposing good, so.
So with the 9 on the discern realities for Edda, I always like to pull it up just to double check. I'm my own rules lawyer. With the 9, you only get 1.
What here is useful or valuable to me?
I want to play in on this. This is because I see Edda patting down the orc, and I figured she's kind of looking for something that might be useful, or at least stripping him of weapons. So I'm gonna, usually think about, since I've dealt with the Luke dog quite a bit, Oscar kind of thinks out what could be that she might be looking for that I could just easily point her to. They usually carry on them.
I'm trying to conjure something on him with the spout lore.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, like that. That's creative. The thing is, she's got a success either way on what is useful or valuable.
Find something, or you're gonna point out something specific.
But you might be able to choose it with that. Yeah, exactly. So try it out.
Well, keep in mind that Edda's quest is to discover the truth of the Luke Dog clan, so.
Roll your intelligence there. Now, were you trying to decide what's on him with this move?
I was gonna let her know of something that the Luke dog always carry on them.
Oh, I see. And
I could be like, hey, make sure you grab.
I gotcha. Oscar is going to maybe not so helpfully inform her that he probably has a net on him. With that result. Which he happens to be carrying in his hand.
Is that the result of my, what here is useful or valuable to me?
No.
Okay.
That's just Oscar.
Yeah, she sees Edda potting him down. They always have a net we could use.
Yeah. I imagine that's just him being an expert. What else is useful or valuable? As Edda's patting down the orc, she also finds tucked into his boot one more of those syringes. It's like a crudely created thing. The needle isn't a needle. It's like a hollowed out,
Bone?
Giant mosquito proboscis or something. And it's got some sort of foul black fluid in it, presumably what was used on you.
So Edda will take that net and the syringe. And our orc friend is still unconscious, and I'm pondering how we might communicate with him.
So he's still unconscious. Sigmund slaps him just once.
To wake him up?
Yeah.
He awakens. His eyes grow large. You can see they are the irises or whatever. I think that's the color part is like reddish. he makes like a "Ah!" and immediately, despite being tied up, how so? I assume he tied his hands behind his back.
Yeah, I said I hogtied him.
Okay. He starts struggling towards Sigmund as best he can, biting at him. What do you do to stop him from
Cold
sinking
shot.
His teeth into Sigmund?
Bruce
Don't
is just
kill him.
gonna shove him back.
Well, hold up. Oscar called his cold shot. He is the ranger, man. If he wants to
Then-
sink one in there, he might do it. So,
Protecting my bond.
cold shot is a ranger move, right?
Yeah.
And how it works is if you attack a defenseless or surprised enemy at range, you can choose to just deal your damage, or you can name a specific target and roll. What do you want to do? Auto damage or name a specific target and roll?
I'm gonna name a specific target here. I'm gonna hit him in the head.
Okay.
Bruce is gonna interpose himself between the orc and Oscar when he hears him knock an arrow.
That's
is
not
going-
gonna really be possible. Unless you did some sort of defy danger to get there quickly enough.
I'm
Oscar is a master archer. And he
standing right next to the orc,
well, he could shoot it right between your legs if he wanted to.
not at his head.
Sure. He's on his belly hopping towards Sigmund trying to bite him.
All right.
He's doing the worm towards Sigmund. His head's parallel with the ground. You, large, target. Oscar, master archer. He could bounce that thing off the ground if he wanted to. But if you want to try, you could roll defy danger.
Dex.
That would be the obvious way, I would imagine. It all comes down to how you describe it.
I think Sigmund instinctively tries to leap backwards.
So let's resolve this with Oscar first because it happens in like a split second. And really, we're just seeing if Bruce can interpose himself or not. Because with the 8 on the called shot to the head, that's going to be
No. That was the earlier spout lore.
okay. You haven't rolled yet.
No,
Got it.
Yeah, I was going for.
Well, go ahead and roll your called shot because it's going to happen. We're really just determining if Bruce is going to be in the way or not.
Oh, I thought he was gonna interfere with it.
Yeah, I was going.
Oh, you want to do the interfere move itself? I got it.
Yeah.
That you can do
that's
for
why
sure.
I was waiting to roll.
Yeah. Yeah, you can definitely do that.
Alright.
My bad. I thought you meant like you wanted to actually take the shot, like have it hit you. Got it. My bad. You actually meant the move interfere itself.
Correct.
Groovy. So that should successfully do a -2 to your called shot.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea if you fail that Bruce just like stomps the arrow.
Just glares at him.
Oof. So that would be an actual total fail, right? That means I get to make a move. If you really think about it. Technically.
I'm just trying to help you level there, Oscar.
Technically.
I'm just waiting till I can level. Actually, I have enough XP. I thought I didn't when I was talking about it earlier.
Alright, I like the result of this fail, because look. So, while Bruce is focused on preventing Oscar's arrow, and if you want to steal my idea, that's cool, or however you want to describe it. Meanwhile, the result of that fail is going to be the fact that I was just going to have the orc straight up bite Sigmund, but he actually already described that he was backpedaling. So roll me a defy danger.
Alright. I'll put that as Dex.
Yep, that sounds like the way you described it to me.
What a clumsy man.
Alright, roll a d6 damage.
I was trying to save it.
Young Sigmund.
Just a d6.
So the orc sinks his fangs and tusks into your meaty calf for 4 damage. And you hear him while he has a mouthful of Sigmund going, "Rrrr!" What do you do?
Edda's gonna grab this orc and yank him off of Sigmund.
So was the failed my move that he attacked Sigmund, or is that the fail of Sigmund's move?
The fail of your move. I would have just made him do damage to Sigmund, but since he specifically mentioned he was backpedaling in that moment before, I had to give him the chance on the Defy Danger. But fortunately, he failed.
Did you make a move on the failed Defy Danger?
I would say that the failed Defy Danger, maybe I'll add a little bit, because I don't want to deal damage twice to him in one shot. Maybe I'll add a little bit that you're also currently like held by the orc. He's a Klingon. What do you all do? Sigmund's on the ground. The orcs sunk his teeth into him while Bruce was focused on Oscar and vice versa. Edda's there.
Mm-hmm. Edda's grabbing the orc and yanking him off of Sigmund.
Alright. Sounds like a Defy Danger strength to me.
Oscar's gonna bark at Bruce. I'm not trying to kill him, I'm nearly trying to knock him out again.
Edda screams back as she's yanking the orc up. I want to try and talk to him, though.
Bruce
There
just
we go.
glares at Oscar and he knocks the arrow off of his shield.
She successfully yanked the orc off with a mouthful of Sigmund. He's got some of Sigmund's raspberry juice dribbling down his tusks and his mouth. Sigmund's in some pain, but he'll be alright. How many, you guys were all at full HP, I believe, before we started, so what does that take Sigmund down to? He's what?
12.
Out of? You had
16.
16 to start with. Cool. So you're wounded for sure, but you're not near mortal death or anything. But Edda, that was successful in pulling him off and everything. Continue.
She pulls the orc off and...
Just for time, we got about an hour and a half of the session going here.
She wants to try and wedge him sort of in between some of these boulders so that he can't move. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I can think of a really easy, or much easier thing to do.
She could just put a boulder on top
Just
of him.
put boulders on him. Yeah.
Put a big old rock on him.
Yeah, just put one in his lap.
That's funny.
So she grabs the orc from his, where his hands are hogtied, pulls him off of Sigmund, throws him on the ground, grabs the nearest big-ass rock she can find, and tries to pick it up and put it on his belly to hold him into place.
Yeah, you can just do that. Well, actually, so you've got a wily orc. So is anybody helping you do that?
Danger.
It kind of depends. Is anyone else holding the orc while she's
I can knock another blunt arrow.
Putting a paperweight on him?
Bruce will hold the orc.
Alright, so in that case, no, you wouldn't have to roll anything, because Bruce could easily hold a hogtied orc while you put the boulders on him, but
Alright,
if
so
no
that
one
just
held him,
happens,
there'd be a
there's no
moment where he
rolls.
could worm around and try to bite people. Yeah, sure.
This orc into
I mean,
Charles
you
Corey.
can describe it and make it cool and everything, but yeah, we don't have to do any rolls. Only come up organically when moves are activated. But keep in mind, ultimately, your characters are just doing stuff, acting out, whatever. So you can do all kinds of things that aren't covered by moves. Moves just are rolled when they come up.
Eda had an idea for how she might talk with this orc.
Oscar's gonna talk with Bruce.
The orc is right now angrily grunting and straining against his bonds as well as the rock that you've plopped into his lap.
Mm-hmm. What if Eda used just a little bit of that toxin? Not enough to knock him out, but just enough to calm him down and sedate him a bit.
Yeah, you can certainly try it.
Would I need to roll?
Nah. I mean, you could just inject a little of the stuff into him and see what happens.
Yeah, she'd probably inject about, maybe half of it.
Okay. So Eda goes over to the orc. He can't really stop her. She puts the syringe into where? Where do you inject him? Tell me about it.
He's got a big old nasty vein in his neck.
Oh, he's got plenty, I'm sure.
He's like straining to snap.
Yeah, he's
right?
like he looks like me basically.
Yeah.
Just
his
imagine
veins
me.
are like popping out. So it's
I have
real,
some
it's actually
veins, boy, on
pretty
that old
easy.
neck. I have neck little muscles. My neck has little biceps. So you squirt in about half,
Mm-hmm.
and then do you guys just stand around and look at them and wait? What's the
think I
role
would.
play here? What's going on?
I'd say the role play is I'd say we split into two different scenes because Oscar's gonna have a word with Bruce.
Well, you're all kind of standing right there, though, so you don't have to split into two different scenes. You can all talk to each other.
Bruce is restraining the orc too. So.
Right. Bruce is holding them.
I thought he was only holding him so he could put the rock on him.
I did too, but it doesn't hurt to keep holding them. Maybe he's holding them so that he's still, so Eda can easily syringe him.
Yeah. From like snapping at her hand.
Yeah. So he's freshly injected. She's just pulled the needle out. He's still. He'll intermittently bash his own head against the rock. It's morning now, so it's early morning, but it's full light. The shadows from the sun make it even harder to see inside of the tomb now, but it's almost as if there's some sort of preternatural shadow basking it as well. Action.
Well, Oscar walks up behind Bruce as he's restraining him. He's like, "What the hell was that?"
What the hell was that? Why were you trying to kill our prisoner?
There's a difference between kill and stun.
We can stun with our fists.
I have a much easier time of it.
I wouldn't be so sure when he's just gonna stand up and look all intimidating like Bruce does.
And Oscar kind of reaches around and pulls out another one of his arrows that he was just using that he had fired over at the orc. These aren't all pointed things in here. You can use them for reasons specific to this. One of these to the head, bonk, you're going dumb.
And then we have to wait even longer out here in an ambush site. We don't need him unconscious. We need him alive.
He's not unconscious. He just kind of, you've taken a blow to the head, and it takes a moment to regain yourself.
Mechanically, what he's referring to is the called shot puts them into a condition called stand and drool. So they're conscious, but they're just dazed in their spot.
And Bruce will contemplate it for a second, and he's just going to go, communication would be nice.
Look, when I saw him lunging at Sigmund, there was no time for communication. It was just react.
Sigmund, by the way, I imagine is probably patching up his leg wound.
Sigmund is, yeah, I don't think Sigmund has anything.
Nah, I don't mean like get your health back. I just mean like lore-wise, like, putting some wrapping it in something or something,
He doesn't even have any. The only thing he has is a promissory note. But he's
Oh
not using
damn!
that.
Don't use that.
Yeah. No.
So he's just kind of sitting there bleeding, sadly.
Yeah, and everyone's arguing, and he's like,
Mom and Dad are arguing, just sitting there
my leg is
bleeding.
bleeding.
And your orc little stepbrother intermittently bashes his own head against the rock while he's going. Nice. It's a beautiful Norman Rockwell scene right here.
Well, as he continues with Bruce, he goes, I mean, Bruce, we've known each other for a long time, and we've been friends kind of intermittently whenever I came back to... forgot.
Odstad.
This is a very sincere apology.
I mean, it burned down, so.
Yeah, it was more akin to Ugathwaite, I guess. But yeah, when I will intermittently come into Odstad, but I mean, Sigmund's. I mean, he's definitely out of his element, and I'm trying to keep him alive. I mean, it's more than. I don't know. He's definitely a friend, but I feel like I have to protect him like another brother.
And you're the band of Broken Blades, a band of outlaws, consequently. Don't forget that.
I worry about Sigmund too, but I also know that we need to work together on a lot of this stuff. And he's going to kneel down and touch where Sigmund's leg is bleeding and spend 2 points of balance to restore some health.
Ooh. The fancy... Is that your multi-class ability you picked up?
Yeah, the druid move balance.
So you didn't multi-class necessarily, you did like a dabbler thing, or how did that work out exactly?
It's multi-class dabbler.
So are you a fighter druid now?
No, because you can't gain levels in both, you just take a move from the druid playbook.
I got it. So like...
Okay, so that means mine is different then.
Yeah.
I am multi-classing.
Well,
I have God amidst the waste.
yeah, so that
And every
allows
time
you...
I level, I also gain a level in cleric.
Oh. Yeah, he just did multi-class dabbler, I got it. But on the ranger,
Okay.
you said it actually is better, right?
I didn't realize that. I also didn't take a level 1 spell because I didn't realize that I had. That's what I'm still trying to discuss with
Well,
them.
you don't get everything from cleric. You just get commune and cast the spell moves. And you are a cleric of level 1 for using spells. And every time you level up, you count as a 1 level higher cleric for casting spells.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about, it being right after the break there. In commune, when you commune, you're granted spells of your choice whose total levels don't exceed your own level plus 1.
Right. So that's what it's talking about with your effective cleric level.
Well, I'm saying I'm granted new spells based on that stuff, so I can take cleric spells.
Nah, clerics have access to all their spells all the time. It's just you pick which one you prepare. So when you're granted them, it means like your deity is granting them to you for the day. That makes sense?
Yeah, and I have that move that grants me spells.
Right. So maybe change the word grant to prepare. So when you're commune is how you prepare spells. So like if you take a look, when you spend an hour uninterrupted, you lose any spells you currently have prepared. You prepare new spells of your choice whose totals levels don't exceed your own level plus 1, and none of which is a higher level than your level. You also get all of your rotes. And then if you look down at the spells, you have access to actually all of those. It just, the ones you prepare changes. Does that make sense?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't have one of those selected because I didn't realize I had to, or I had access to them.
Oh, I see. Well,
so that's what I'm saying. I needed to have chosen one, so next time I commune, I'm able to take one of those level 1 spells.
well, you can go ahead and pick which one you want to have prepared right now. That's fine. You can assume that you prepared it this morning.
Okay, I'll take note and put that in there.
Because like right now you count as a level 1 cleric, right?
Right.
So that means you could basically you would have your rotes, and you can you get all those. They don't go in any slots or anything. So you get light, sanctifying, guidance, and then you also could prepare, for instance, cure light wounds. And then what that means is that's what you have prepared. And whenever you do the cast a spell, one of the things that you can choose when you get a 7 to 9 is to have or that you have to choose is that one of the options is the spell is removed, so then you can't cast it again until you have a chance to prepare spells again. So unlike old school where as soon as you cast it it's gone, in Dungeon World if you cast it there's a chance for it to be gone, but you might keep it prepared. Does that make sense?
So
right. Cool.
Yeah, so I have 2 level 1 spells.
Have you leveled up once since you took God Amongst the Wastes?
No, as a level 1. Because you read earlier, you're granted spells whose total level don't exceed your own level plus 1.
Let's see. Let me read the move God Amongst the Wastes. So, as far as using spells, when you select the move, you count as a level 1 cleric. And then every time you gain a level after that, that level 1 effective cleric goes up. So when did you select the God Amidst the Wastes move?
So at my current level, yeah.
So you just picked it? So that means now you count as a level 1 cleric for the purposes of spells. And each time you level as a ranger, that cleric will go up by 1 too. You got it.
Yeah, and that's why I was asking if I get 2 level 1 spells then, because of the move.
Yeah, you
can.
Total levels don't exceed your own level plus 1 in cleric, and none of which are higher than your current level. So
yeah,
you're level 1, so 2 level 1 spells.
So the number of spells that you'd be able to prepare would be 1 plus 1. So you could prepare, I guess, 1 second level spell or 2. Well, there's no second level spells.
I couldn't.
No.
Yeah.
So you could do 2 first level spells.
Well, the second clause of it is none of which are higher level than your own level. So
oh, got it.
Level 1.
You're
right.
right.
You can only prepare 2 level 1s anyway.
You got it, yeah. And unlike old school, where it might be wise to just prepare 2 cure light wounds, keep in mind it's not guaranteed to like go out of your memory. So like you could still do that if you wanted, but for instance, if you go to cast one of them, like let's say you did cure light wounds and then something else, you go to do cast a spell and then you roll a 7 to 9. The spell is still cast, but you have to choose a negative consequence, and one of those negative consequences is you forget that spell until the next time you have a chance to sit down and commune.
Right, okay.
Cool. So you still might want to prepare 2 cure light wounds in case you can, so you can burn one and still have it memorized, but it's not as useful as, say, in old school where when you cast the spell, it's out of your memory. So, like, every time Milas does sleep in the other campaign, that's gone. So, like, that's a space where you might be like, all right, you know, I've got multiple slots. I'm just going to load up the same spell over and over. But I'm glad we got that figured out because that's some important shit.
Sigmund died, by the way.
No, he was patching you up while we're talking.
Well, what was happening was Bruce was using his balance move. Now, this is a cool move because he dabbled into Druid to get it. I want to hear the description, the scene. Bruce walks over to Sigmund, who's laying there with his bleeding leg.
Bruce grabs his hand around Sigmund's leg, and the hilt of Fringir lights up with kind of a green light, and it courses down through his arm and into Sigmund's leg. And he looks up at Sigmund and says, "Your purpose still eludes me here, but I will protect you."
And you healed him for how much? 5?
5.
So you should be back up to
Oh,
full.
yeah.
So it fully seals the wound. Does it hurt? Does it feel good? Is it a minty sensation? How does it feel for Sigmund? Does it smell like anything? Does it scar up? Is it perfect?
It rapidly closes up the wound, so it does scar kind of heavily, but he feels like a sharp pain, but then it's almost immediate relief after that.
It's like getting a shot. You're like,
Yeah.
Well, that spooky thing just happened to you, Sigmund. What do you feel about that?
I feel like I'm with a different group of people. I feel like people's roles have kind of become a bit blurry. Like
It is
the
kind
guy
of
who I
cool.
thought who was just like a meathead is actually some kind of healer. Very weird.
Where does Bruce feel like that power comes to him from?
He feels like it actually comes from Hringir.
Hringir itself? He doesn't even realize it's him?
Yeah, he was noticing the kind of like lights in Hringir when they were walking to Ugathwaite.
What's next?
How's
He
the
got
orc
this.
doing? Is
He's
he
intermittently
sleepy?
bashing his head. He doesn't appear to be affected by the injection at all.
Oh, well, Etta would give him the other half and see if he'll calm down.
Alright. Is there any more discourse to be had here, or do you guys want to just wait and see what happens to the orc?
No, Oscar's kind of gotten his point across, and he's also helping Sigmund. So he cuts the conversation there.
Well, Sigmund's healed up now. He's good to go.
Stay.
The orc does not appear to be affected by its own toxins.
Well, that was a waste.
Yeah, you could use that on somebody else. That would have been cool.
Oh well.
Etta discards the shoddy, ramshackle syringe, sadly.
I still have a net. Etta was thinking, I mean, this orc isn't going to
He
talk
intermittently
to her.
looks around at y'all, bashes his head, strains at his restraints, grunts,
But she wonders if maybe she
bites
could
if you get too close.
almost like talk to the orc through Tyr. Like pray to Tyr for guidance. To tell her why this
Tyr's gonna
orc
talk
is
to Mork
here.
and Gork.
And since this orc is not affected by this toxin at all, I would imagine it would be pretty dangerous for her to pray over his body for guidance. So I was thinking I might accomplish this with like a defy danger wisdom.
So you're gonna like try to touch the orc and then
Pray to Tyr.
uh-huh.
Try and gain some insight as to why this orc is here.
Are you trying to use a move?
Just defy danger. It's not really a paladin move.
But what about the pray to Tyr?
That's just the wisdom angle. There's not a specific paladin.
But I'm saying that you're not gonna get any guidance from you're not gonna get any guidance from Tyr like unless you're using a move or something. Tyr's not on Etta's speed dial. The only way she can really invoke his insight at all on demand is the what here is evil thing, right? Plus, you barely even pay lip service to Tyr. What, is he gonna help you out now?
Well, I'm trying.
I mean, you can try, but I'm just letting you know.
Please tell me one of Oscar's level 1 spells is Commune with Dead.
Oh, look at my sheet.
Um,
I've got a whole character arc for Oscar, so it's
yeah, you can. And by the way, like I said, you can go ahead and prepare what you would have communed this morning. That's all good.
yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead and roll your defy danger with. Here's the thing. Defy danger with wisdom to touch an orc and pray to the god that you barely even pay lip service to. That doesn't even sound wise at all. I would say that would be defy danger dexterity to get out of the way when the orc inevitably bites you. But if that's what you want to do, we can do it.
It sounds like possibly there was a.
Who's
another
scrolling
idea
like
brewing
a
in the
god,
back.
by the way?
Oh,
Is
that's
that Lewis? I think it's Lewis.
Yeah.
He's looking at all the moves.
I think he's working out his scroll finger. He's got weights on there. Is that what you want to do, Etta?
Well, it sounded like possibly there was another idea brewing.
Well, it's kind of a last-ditch effort. We're gonna kill him and communicate with his corpse.
We could do that.
You don't know Oscar has these moves.
I know, but
Oscar doesn't know he has these moves.
I mean, role play it out. Do whatever. Try to imagine the scene and go accordingly.
Well, whether it would be
It's more.
mechanically a wise move.
That's what I was saying. Do you want to do it
Right.
still, even though it's unwise? Because y'all are not known for your wise decisions all throughout season 1.
No.
Season 2 may not be a departure from that at all. So in that case, I would say do a defy danger dexterity edit, because basically what will happen is you'll try to put your hand on this orc, do some prayers, and really your only hope is going to be able to move out of the way in time when he bites you. Tyr is not on your speed dial right now.
Yeah. Well, would anyone help hold this orc still while I do this?
I can always bonk him on the head.
Well, do what? Does that just say, like, I'm going to, like, communicate to the party what you're going to do in a roleplay way?
Yeah, and this orc's not going to talk to me, but I want to know why he's here. And I think maybe if I'm able to touch him and pray to the gods, I might gain some insight as to what in this tomb he's so interested in. So would anybody help me hold him still while I try that? Crickets. Nobody's. Everybody's like, this is a terrible idea.
Bruce, Oscar, and Sigmund are looking at Edda kind of side-eyed, like, you're gonna what?
And I gave my word. I'm like, I can bonk him. I'm not going to touch him.
Bonk away.
Bruce is just gonna weigh in that he thinks we're kind of going nowhere with this orc. He
Yeah.
very clearly isn't going to communicate with us, so he's gonna say we can use him to see where the trap trigger is instead of wasting more time with him, and at least gain that useful information out of him.
Well, I can either bonk him and he just kind of stands there, or he'll bonk him and he'll probably die. Or we can, just drag him over there. But some way I'd like to subdue him before putting him over there, so it's easier.
Etta sighs dejectedly. She's trying so hard to be a paladin. It's not working out great for her. She just says, fine, fine, do the whatever. No.
What could possibly go wrong?
She says, let's just move on. I want to get through this tomb so we can get to the Volcar and find out the real truth of the Luke Dog clan.
Edda's not curious why they're here?
She is curious.
Okay.
So
She just doesn't have a good way to get that information out of this orc.
Bruce is gonna shoulder the boulder over to the side and pick the orc up with both hands and just kind of hold him up off the ground because he's about at his size. Do you want to defy danger strength for that?
So just pick up the tied up. Well, you just take the boulder out of his lap?
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, you don't have to defy danger just to manipulate a tied dude.
So while he's holding him there, he's gonna look over at Ed and be like, "You can touch him if you want."
No, it's fine.
I mean, if you wanted to.
I mean, imagine Bruce has him like belly down on the ground with like your boot in his back, and you're like dragging him around by his hog-tied appendages, so you keep his face away from you.
Yeah.
It is a bit embarrassed, but she's gonna try. She came up with this harebrained idea, so she might as well see if it works.
So where do you try to touch him exactly while you pray?
Probably a leg or a tied up arm.
All
Not
right.
anywhere near this.
So you don't have to
this
roll
orc
anything for
space.
that.
Touch his butt.
Would I roll
Touch
for wisdom
No, you don't roll anything. You
Oh.
just touch him, and
and pray and nothing happens?
what do you pray to Tyr? Like, because nothing's gonna happen. Yeah, because I think this is probably the first time you've ever even thought about your paladin's god. So, you know, he already. I mean, the only power that you like get, like, boom, granted, is the detect evil. Though I thought maybe you had another one too. I can't remember.
Well, I can't really. I would imagine that I couldn't really use I am the law on this gentleman to tell me why he's here, because he can't communicate with us.
Right.
Just a quick mechanical question. Could we use a spout lore with this roll? But it's consulting accumulated knowledge about something. Maybe whenever you ask, how do you know this? It could be a vision from Tyr that was granted to Edda.
That would be a creative use of spout lore.
Here, let's spin this another way, and Edda can ask me. And since Oscar's been around orcs a lot, he may not know the language, but he might know some of the words she's trying to get across.
We're really good at getting to adventuring locations, but into them we seem to struggle.
I'm just trying to make this work, and I don't know if it quite really does.
The closest thing I've heard anyone say was you
Is a
could
spout lore.
try to do a spout lore, but
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
the
Same
thing
thing.
is, the secret plans of the Lug Dog clan are not in any of y'all's accumulated knowledge, so that's even a stretch.
Yeah, I think Edda's
very
just
true.
gonna shake her head and give up on it and say, "Let's just move on. I want to know what's in this tomb that these orcs might find so interesting."
So what are we doing from now? Are we taking the orc with us to because maybe if we can kind of take him into the tomb with us, maybe there's something that he's looking for. I don't know. Maybe we'll get a clue if we keep close to him as we get deeper into the tomb.
That's a good point, Sigmund. I mean, if he reacts, we can just gauge his reaction as we go through the tomb. You know, if he knows something that we don't.
So, yeah, exactly. Like if he sees like something that to our eyes seems pretty mundane, like doesn't even look like treasure, but to him is like something worthwhile, or he's very agitated by it, then that's maybe worth keeping an eye on.
Let's make this orc walk into this tomb.
I mean, if all else
Let's
fails, we can
Starters.
use them as a torch.
Are you speaking my language?
You guys are sadistic. I like it.
Bruce is gonna roll him over, he's gonna stick a boot in his gut, draw ring gear and put it up to his throat and glare at him. And he's going to just announce that if you walk ahead of us, I won't have to kill you. And attempt to parlay with threats of violence.
He doesn't understand you, though.
Okay. But
You guys keep trying to talk to this orc.
He does understand I'll point towards the tomb, and with my sword pointing down in his throat. I think that's pretty universal.
Yeah, he can understand that.
So, is that a parlay?
Yeah, you can parlay off that.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I was.
But being like, kind orc,
English, is it?
could you please? So just roll your charisma.
No, it didn't work.
Oh no.
Oh, buddy, let me think for a second on this one. I got it. So, when Bruce has taken his hands off of the orc to gesture and threaten with his blade, the orc immediately turns and, well, still bound, because I would imagine you'd have to unbind his feet to stand him up to explain, right? Or you still kept them on the ground?
Yeah, I rolled him over on his back. And
so still bound, he just starts rolling down these initial steps here. And as he rolls onto that first step, you know, each one I imagine would be like a 10-foot run, so these are massive steps. And the stairway going down, I'm sure, is much longer than pictured. You just got to use that imagination. It'll lead down into the chamber of this size and description or whatever. Something happens. It happens like very rapidly, like in the blink of an eye. Something you'd imagine some sort of massive blade, this like 50 feet in length, like essentially slotted into this entryway. If you can imagine like how a cigar cutter would work. The blade flashes across the you can see my ruler when I use it, right? It like goes like whoosh across there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And you feel a rush of wind from the size of it. It displaces air. You hear this massive like whoosh, like some sort of machinery. And you even feel a rumble come from somewhere below beneath you of almost some massive like crank, like turning one time. The blade consequently messily splits the orc in half, whose blood and entrails splatter all over that left side of the first step. Since he was essentially cleaved horizontally down the center of his body.
Well, that was my plan B, so.
That was totally...
All he makes is a little and then that's all of he wrote.
So does the blade return back through, or did it go to the other side?
Yeah,
just passed the
it happens in a blink of an eye, but it appeared to have traveled from here, go whoosh, across, and then it
did not.
You would assume disappeared into a similar slot on the other side.
Okay.
Hmm.
And
you want to go touch him now, Etta?
how?
Etta glares at Oscar.
How quickly after
Watch your tongue.
After the blade did we hear the rumbling? Was it immediate?
It was like, yeah, contemporaneous. It all happened at the same time.
Okay.
And you said it sounded like it was coming underneath rather than...
Yeah, it was as if when the poorly fated orc rolled onto that first step, it activated some sort of subterranean machinery, which caused that blade to rotate through like that.
Now these steps are 10 feet wide, you said? So we
yeah,
couldn't...
well, imagine not wide they'd be like the whole width, so like 30, but imagine the run of the step, like the depth of it would be like, yeah, that's not the scale at all, obviously.
Yeah.
Just use your imagination. We might even
Like,
redraw
that
this
direction.
later on. Because
Well, that
y'all are
orc
better
just
at
taught
drawing
us-
than I am.
That
just
orc has taught
wondered-
us a lot in about 5 seconds of no communication than we probably ever would have gotten from him.
I just know that I have an idea for the first chamber that's roughly like that. So if you want to draw some stairs up here somewhere else on the parchment, that's fine too. But I imagine... Go ahead.
Oh, I just wondered if we would be able to like skip that step and just jump over it.
I would just drop the rock onto it. Well, I don't know about the rock, I guess, but I would drop something else onto it before we tried to go across it. His
That's what I
body
was thinking, Bruce.
Being on the step might have triggered it and left it down.
Well, we could
If we-
also put, sorry, but we could also put the rock sort of in the way of where it disappears into the walls, so that instead of disappearing, it gets stuck, and then it's not useful anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It just hits the rock.
Where are we gonna find? How are we gonna move a rock that big, Evan? This thing that just came across the entirety of the doorway.
Well, she
Like,
kind of
at
has a
least 50
point
foot
because it's
tall.
very tall, but it's also very thin.
Edda smiles and she pats Bruce on the back. I know a guy.
Well, I think.
Well, I like that the
Sigmund-
party is like debating. Well, let's think about the scene for a second, though. First, just take a brief moment. Think about this episode. The party is investigating the entrance to the tomb. They see some orcs snooping around, and then one of them's actually hidden amongst the rocks and tries to get them. Then there's all this debate and deliberation about him, and then as soon as he gets a chance to, like, people are watching. If they're watching this as an episode, they'd be like, "What's with this orc? What's gonna go on?" And then as soon as he get a chance to get away, he like rolls away, and then he's instantly just.
The group's immediately like, well, now.
And they're like, "Fuck."
Look, all I'm saying is a lot of stuff ends up on the editing room floor.
No, that would be like some Game of Thrones shit. Like you're all attached to this orc, like wondering, like, "Oh, is he gonna be like a character or something?" That's
How are we
like,
gonna communicate with him?
especially like if you're listening back, you have no idea what's about to happen. Anyhow, so now the scene is the party is kind of looking around each other. Maybe their hearts are like a little more terrified of the tomb than they were before, given that, and they're debating on how to proceed from here. It is morning. The tomb is almost preternaturally dark. The entrance casts massive shadows as well. I assume you'd all be standing right there next to the splattered orc entrails on the first step, and you're kind of looking back and forth at each other, debating what to do. Volan's kind of bored, grooming himself.
So it sounds like our options are either find a way to trigger the trap, because if I could trigger it, then I could disarm it because I have that move, or to get a rock and kind of place it in the way of the blade, so that if we do trigger it, it will kind of get stuck, and then there'll be like a little slither, like a triangle that we can crawl through.
But the trap has already been set off, so
Yeah.
would Sigmund, now he knows at least that spot on the floor triggers it.
Is it?
that
Do we know
enough?
whether? Do we know? I mean, because
Where,
looking at
where the orc landed.
Because looking at the thief, so basically I took the move Tricks of the Trade from the thief class, and that's basically to disable a trap. But then before that, there's Trap Expert, which is more like, where is the trap, what activates it, what does the trap do when it's activated, and how that's. So I guess I want to ask Dave, like, can I go ahead and do Tricks of the Trade to disarm the trap, or do I need to find more information before I can?
Well, first off, Tricks of the Trade is one of the multi-class things you picked up when you leveled up, right? You picked up that move, but you do not have Trap Expert. Is that what you're saying?
That's basically it, yeah.
The way I look at it mechanically is you're exactly right. Trap Expert would be used to figure out the details of the trap, but like we've kind of talked about earlier, the moves only come up when they happen organically, but it's not like you guys are constrained by the moves. So in this case, you're doing things naturally, like just normal stuff that you can also do logically to figure out the trap. And yeah, since you guys think you have an idea of how to activate it, like, I guess what I should really say, just to be more simple, is you can disable a trap without, you can try to disable a trap without knowing exactly how it's activated, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But it is very helpful to know all those things so that you don't accidentally activate it.
My thoughts were to just see if we can set the trap off again, and if it doesn't go off again, we should be clear to go through because the trap was a one-shot go.
Well, judging by the sounds of gears, I'm going to say it's a resetting.
Yeah.
So in that case, it takes time to reset. So I do think that we should try to trigger it again, because there are multiple steps. If there's one of these on every step, we're going to stop one and we're going to die in the next one. So I like the idea of using the boulder here and rolling it down the stairs to see if it is a one shot or if they reset, and then seeing the timing on those of between resets. And if it's long enough, we can just go down the stairs after the traps have been triggered and while they're still gearing up.
Sounds like we have a plan.
Roll a boulder down the stairs.
Yeah.
So
I found one earlier. She knows a good rock we can use.
So I would say all of you together would be strong enough to just move a pretty sizable hunk of rock around easily. No real rolls required.
Okay.
The only thing you're really burning right now is daytime. But that wouldn't even take that long. Like it would take like 30. You know, it'd take like less than an hour tops to roll a rock all the way back over or whatever. So we'll say there's a little montage where you guys team up, put in some elbow grease, get sweaty, find a boulder that's large enough that's going to have some inertia and keep rolling.
Can Oscar cast light on the boulder so we have a giant torch?
If he wants to. Do you ask him that? I don't think. Do you know about his secret abilities yet?
I don't know about any of his secret abilities.
Well, I used light before on Etta.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
she was glowing
One
red.
time versus the shadows. That's true. He has displayed these abilities before, but probably not talked about them.
So Bruce would ask if he could do the same thing he did with Etta's armor to the rock before we heft it down.
I can try, but these aren't things that are particularly known to me. I saw Honir, and I just have these extraordinary abilities that rise whenever I guess they're needed.
These are strange days, friend.
Indeed, it's something that I'm just a vassal of the gods at this point. A vessel of the gods. My bad.
Do you want to try? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we can give it a try.
Are you going to try to cast light on the rock? Or the boulder?
I'll look over it to make sure.
Light is a rote, so you always have it prepared. And then you would just do the cast the spell move.
I mean, the only thing I would think about is
it can always go
the
wrong.
part where it says the spell lasts as long as it's in your presence. I don't know where that would end, considering how big the room is, too.
I would say, like, as far as you could see. Like, if you can see it and it can see you. So maybe eyesight. Or I mean, maybe you'll just find out what presence is. I kind of imagine that once it gets to a certain range, it'll just kind of wink out, like. Whoosh.
Yeah, and I'm definitely playing this too. Like, Oscar doesn't know he has spells; they just happen. Like,
Yeah,
saw
you
a
can
vision of
lower
God,
it up
now all of
however
a
you
sudden-
want, but you,
Yeah, that's how I'm doing it.
I'm just saying that you got to roll the dice though.
Yes.
Lower that however you want.
So Oscar again tries to think of, like, I guess the same thing in that moment whenever he reached in to grab Etta and just thought about something, but this is he's touching a boulder. He's like, I don't know, I'm not quite sure how about to go about this. He's just like, so he tries to imagine how he played marbles as a child, and always the best marbles with the glowing, the
shinies.
ones with the shinies.
Nice.
So he just tried to imagine his favorite marble from his childhood he played with.
So the cast the spell is you roll your wisdom.
Yeah. Almost mistyped that.
Uh-oh.
So with a fail I can be as nice as just take it away from you, but I don't know if I want to be that nice. Yeah, I actually like that. You kind of put your hands on it, try that out, but nothing seems to occur. And I'll be nice on this miss and just take it out of your mind.
Yeah, that seems fair. I mean,
But I kind of like that moment because everyone's waiting for something to happen, maybe even some sort of dramatic failure. And then you just feel a slight emptiness in your mind, and that's it.
yeah, sorry, Bruce. I mean, like I said, I'm just whatever Onir wills of me.
Well, let's strike off a torch and get moving.
So what about the boulder?
Roll the boulder down.
You push it down?
I think that's the best option.
One step at a time, and we're on the step behind it, so to speak.
Yeah,
Well, I
that
feel
makes
like
sense.
we need light going down, so we should strike off a torch before. So someone should hold a light.
Edda's got some adventuring gear, but I think she would like to stand in defense of somebody as they go down the steps.
Well, I don't think Sigmund's got the constitution to either defend himself or push a boulder, so he's probably better off holding the torch. So he doesn't actually have any adventuring gear, so would it be possible to burn the torch off someone? He's one of those annoying guys. Doesn't bring his own.
Get a light, bro.
Get a light.
Thanks, man.
Edda lights, pulls a torch out of her pack, lights it, hands it to Sigmund, but lets him know that she'll protect him on the way down as they follow this boulder.
So you're gonna do defense, Sigmund?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's Oscar and Bruce rolling the boulder.
Let's do. One of you can aid the other. A defy danger strength to not lose control of the boulder and have it just do its own thing down the stairs. But only one check. Like once you get that initial inertia, you know.
Oh, Oscar's definitely the smaller person, so.
So you want to try to aid?
Bruce is taking the lead.
Do you want to try to aid or not risk it, Oscar?
Well, of course I'm gonna help Bruce.
Alright. So roll your aid first. Alright. I think that's enough to get it. Yep, it's just that if shit goes wrong, you're also in trouble too.
Alright.
Nice. So Oscar and Bruce are able to keep control of the boulder, and your first step is you're pushing it down onto that first step, and then you're gonna let go of it. Is that the plan?
I thought we were just gonna try to roll it slowly down the stairs and control it, but if it's too unwieldy, then
Well, what happens if you push it onto the first step and then the blade comes out?
see what happens.
Hopefully, it would get stuck in the boulder.
Yeah, we roll it down the side where the blade.
Roll it down along the side.
Well, I'll just tell you what happens, alright? And that defy danger saves you from retribution from this happening. Oscar and Bruce, where do you push the boulder onto the first step? By the splattered orc, or?
Yep, right where we're at.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're kind of pushing it onto its remains as well. As you do that, you feel the boulder settle onto the step, and as soon as it does, you hear again the same sound, the same machinery, the exact same thing. You're able to I would say that defy danger was to hang on to your. I probably should have made a constitution or something. It's good enough now. Because it's kind of complicated what would happen in this situation. Another blade comes out and across, and you know it's a different one because this one, let's say like 35 feet up, anyone who's paying attention notices that it's actually like broken and chipped off up there, whereas the other one went seamlessly all the way up. So this seems to be a different blade, but it comes from the same place, whoosh, does the same thing. However, it rams the boulder, I would imagine, up against this other, probably cracking it, the boulder, the pillar, everything some. And then I would imagine it would be kind of like this. See if I can draw over here. You'd have like the side there, then you'd have the boulder smashed up against it, and then you'd have the piece of machinery, the blade itself kind of like sticking up out of the boulder, and this goes up, 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 and then maybe like 35 feet up. This one, instead of being perfect, is like all fucked up. Does that kind of make sense?
Where? Oh, okay. I see what you're drawing.
And then you see that there's also a massive rod of some metal that goes through the center, and on the part, you know, some 35 feet up where it's broken, the rod is up, and then it's broken off, you know, elsewhere. And then this would be like the bottom, and then the other side. And then the orc guts would be like underneath here. So it kind of came through, hit the boulder here, and got jammed. But this one, unlike the others, is not perfect at the top. It's kind of fucked up. If that kind of makes sense. If you can imagine that.
Oh, okay, I see now.
But you still felt the whole rumbling from the beneath and all that.
I think I want to do trap expert now because we've got a good idea of where the trap is triggered.
You mean
So-
tools of the trade? You want to try to disable it? Okay, cool.
That's the one.
Got
So-
it.
Before you
Sigmund.
do
Or
that,
tricks of the trade.
Edda's gonna stand in defense of Sigmund in case another blade comes out.
Well, I say we just trigger this trap again and it smashes into this blade.
Then we just have a whole gate of blades that we can't get through anymore.
No, it'll be fine. It'll be all broken. I mean, just squeeze this little gap here next to the rock and the blade.
Well, while they're debating it, I think Sigmund is trying to secretly disable it. So
Yeah.
roll.
Hold on.
It's too late now. Roll your dex there, Sigmund.
Yeah.
No,
All right.
I was gonna stand in defense. I already.
Of Sigmund? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can roll that first. You've been doing that for a while. I thought you
Yeah.
actually already did roll it.
Well, I always get a +1, but we should see if I get more than +1.
Well, go ahead and roll your defend, because that will be how much hold you have, right?
It says rolling the dice. ... There it goes.
Oh, there, you finally it waited for us to finish our discussion.
So you got hold 1 successfully.
All right.
All right.
All right, so Edda is kind of lingering near Sigmund while he fiddles with the trap, while Bruce and Oscar go back and forth. I like it.
So this would be +1 for my dex modifier, but also I'm going to take that +1 that I had right at the start of the session.
Yes, I was hoping you would. So you got exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right.
Oh, nice. So you can disable it, but I have to offer you 2 options between suspicion, danger, and cost. Well, this is kind of a unique situation, though, because I don't really think any of that applies, because as Sigmund goes to investigate the disabling mechanism behind the pressure plate or what have you, he comes to the professional opinion from his studies of traps, mostly through books and whatever he could get a hold of at Ugathwit. People would bring him in, to fiddle with. It appears that this trap is like broken now. Like you could push the mechanism and nothing happens. So it seems like it's not even in need of disable. It's actually been destroyed.
So this is okay. So basically, then that move is kind of
yeah. He feels confident he could at least on this first stair very easily tap dance around, no problem.
All right.
Bruce and Oscar are on the other side of the blade, like, oh, if we jump over the rock, then we won't trigger the trap. And Sigma's just standing on the other side, like, hey guys, you can make it, it's okay.
Yeah, it's on you guys how you want to role play it out.
Well, first trap down. Now, I say we grab another one and push it all the way down the stairs. Get a little more speed and make sure there's no traps on these other stairs.
I don't know how much. Oh, I guess we have room to the right of the blade.
Yeah, you could fit another stone for sure. It's like a 30-foot wide entryway.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan to me.
So you guys want to, because again, you don't really have to roll to find a tumbled boulder to use. And this time you just want to shove it in and let it roll.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even have to do anything for that. That's kind of what it's going to do naturally. And fortunately, I don't really have an idea in mind how far the stairs would go. I imagine each one has a very steep drop down, to the degree that y'all would have to clamber down it, but I don't think it'd be enough that you'd have to use like any type of climbing gear or anything like that. But each drop down, like Bruce just looks right over the edge, I would imagine. Something like that. I would imagine the staircase descends pretty decently far down into the earth, but there aren't any more traps along the stairwell, so the boulder's gonna bang around and roll down there, and you don't hear anything else being triggered as it makes its way down. But I imagine the party follows it. You have light, right?
We have a torch.
And let's say that this represents the entrance to. Did I delete somebody? I did.
New York. Oh, and me.
Me, You're back.
There was one more trap.
Little did Bruce know. So I would imagine this is like the base of the stairs and the entrance to the first chamber. And again, as far as scale, I'm not 100% sure. Just think massive. We're talking about a giant's tomb here. Massive as fuck. So go ahead and arrange your dudes how they would be as you're kind of looking in the entrance to this first chamber, and then role play it out. Why not?
I can't move it at all. I can't even select it.
Make a new one.
Yep.
Were you the one that made that bee?
I think it's because I deleted it on accident, and when I undoed it, it made it my bee. Remember, Edda's defending Sigmund, so she's got to be close to him to use that hold.
Mm-hmm.
Sigmund's carrying the light. No one has any spooky infravision or anything like that in this campaign yet.
Oh, I don't? As a half elf?
I don't think that. Does he even talk about that?
I don't think it ever mentions it in there.
I don't think there's
on the classes
any-
call.
Any vision in this game?
Yeah, everybody's blind.
Let's see.
It was something I looked at before the beginning of this session.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
actually
it didn't say
curious.
anything about infravision.
Nope. Too complicated for Dungeon World. Let me describe, because this is the only chamber I've even kind of thought about a little bit. This is a chamber that is massive in scale. Can imagine this scene. Your characters would probably be like walking around and looking at it and stuff. Traps are a little bit weird in a Dungeon World dungeon because it's not like an old school dungeon where you're looking tile by tile or whatever. So, traps are more something you learn about through your moves, and then you can use other moves to try to deal with, or in that case, like actually physically try to break or whatever. The three circles in the center are indicative of massive, what appear to be some sort of cooking cauldrons. They have massive carved stone pits beneath them with years and years of charcoal, as well as what appear to be burnt bones and things like that. The chamber itself, around the outer edges there, seems to be strewn with countless bones. Mostly man-sized, some of beings a bit larger, and lots of what you can only assume would be the bones of either children or some sort of small race. That's the majority of this chamber, is just bones strewn all over the floor, probably at least ankle deep most places. And then these three massive cauldrons. There could be more furniture or containers or some sort of debris beneath the layer of bones, but so your torchlight reflects very sharply off the white and yellowed old bones here, and then kind of almost gets drank up by these big iron-looking black cauldrons with the fire pits beneath them. The ceiling yawns into darkness overhead, and you see that there's another massive doorway similar to the one you came through on the far side. We'll call it north maybe for ease. And then to the east and west you can see that there's some smaller entrances. They're all cast in shadow. What do you do? I imagine seeing your party standing in Sigmund's torchlight. Edda's like standing with her shield in defense. Bruce is at the front. Oscar's off to the side. Volan's kind of leering around his leg. What do y'all do? Welcome to Gisabi's 2.
Edo wonders if there's anything useful or valuable in this room. If we searched amongst the bones, what we might find.
That's an interesting thing to wonder.
She doesn't necessarily want to give up her defense, so she just sort of wonders out loud.
You could also do this esoteric thing I've heard of called role-playing. There's ROLL playing, and that's where you're just playing strictly to the rules and not really putting the thought into it. And then there's ROLE playing, and that's where you're actually playing the role of your character. Both are essential.
Well, Edda would stick close to Sigmund with her shield out. And she would turn to Oscar and Bruce and instruct them as they move across the floor to sift through the bones and see if there's anything of value or interest that they might find as they sort of move their way into this first room.
So you want me to comb through the sea of dead? All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, let's. All right, Bruce. Let's. I guess we'll start making our way around the left side here. Make sure to stay within torchlight since we've only got one.
So the whole party's moving up towards the left.
Now, move-wise, what are you all doing? Discern realities?
Yeah, I think so.
Is one of you trying to aid the other, maybe?
I can aid Oscar. I have a +0.
I'm just trying to think how we would incorporate the two people. That seems the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
Because Sigmund's walking, carrying the torch. Edda's guarding him. And it sounds like Bruce and Oscar are reaching down and sifting through the bones as they travel. And trying to see if they're covering, like, containers or furniture or what have you. So roll your aid. Or you don't have to risk it if you don't want to. That's the other thing. I'm not going to force you to take a gamble.
I love the allure of XP.
Oh, well, you got one, baby.
Twice now.
Yes.
The triple ones, boys.
Let's see. What move do I want to do? I'm in a nice mood today, so I haven't been hurting you guys too bad. And in fact, I might be nice again, but this leads to future not being nice. Let's see. I'm pondering. While I ponder, somebody do me a favor and draw the rough shape of the next chamber on the left side, and make sure you include another entrance or another a passageway out of it. Somebody do that.
Right.
Left side, that left exit right there, connected to it with a hallway or whatever you want. Just the rough shape of the next chamber.
So I imagine in Bruce's aid of Oscar, he's just like tearing through the bones.
No, he's going to be distracted and maybe even a little bit scared by something.
I was imagining he was just like kicking them away with his feet and stepping on some of them.
Beautiful, Lewis. Thank you.
No worries, man.
So while Oscar is sifting through the bones, Bruce is distracted because he hears something, which the other characters you can hear or not hear at your discretion. But Bruce hears from the left passageway there the distinct sound of like a low ethereal wolf style whining, yipping, and he hears, it's not like constant, but when he does hear it, he often hears multiple, for lack of a better term, voices. At first he kind of looks over toward Volan thinking it's him, but then he realizes it's actually coming from beyond that left passageway. And the sounds aren't quite right. They sound maybe like they're in a well, or sometimes like the sound itself is like trickling water. They have an ethereal quality to them. So anyone else can hear that if they want to, but Bruce definitely does. Does Bruce react in any way?
Bruce would probably slow his walking and signal to the group that he hears something.
Go ahead and roll Oscar's Discern Realities. Is that another whiff?
Yeah.
Oh boy, make sure you're marking your XP for these whiffs, y'all.
That was a 937. That's a success.
This actually might be timed well because it's like 340 right now. And we still have to do end of session move, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think this fail is going to be the last thing that happens this session. Are you ready? This one's going to be obvious. Oscar reaches down. He's sifting through the bones. And one mostly intact skeletal hand wraps around his wrist and uses Oscar to start pulling itself up out of the pile of bones.
Dun, dun, dun.
And that's how we'll stop.
Pro tip, when the DM says you walk into a pile of bones, one of them's going to be alive.
I mean, I figured as much.
Just wait till those little child skeletons start animating.
Moral choice.
But we'll go ahead, and that's a good place to end it, that move there. I'm excited that this is going to be fun. That session was like, I actually liked the deliberation at the entrance because it was kind of in character, since it is your first time as a group really doing any excursion like this as the Band of Broken Blades. But I'm looking forward to going through a Dungeon World dungeon. I can already see with the rules how it works and how it'll be a lot of fun. What'd you think of that trap? Did you like that?
It was, I thought, like, the trap would be, like, really subtle, but this is,
I was thinking about doing a really subtle one, but I was like, how about a 50-foot high blade?
It's subtle if you weren't looking.
I'll break out of my style a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't look like much, but then you take that first step and it's like, shun. Surprised nobody lost a finger.
it was a good trap.
Yeah, it's fun.
Someone lost their entire body, so, I mean...
Well, I've been trying to brush up on that because I've been running some old school too, so you gotta be good on that. Let's see. Let me pull up the actual end of session move here. Dungeon World's always a good time, though.
My character arc is slowly continuing.
Well, we're doing pretty good, man. We played tabletop twice just this week, so I'm happy that we're starting to play more and more often. This one's just tricky because we got a lot of different, very conflicting schedules, but we always meet as often as we can. I think we should keep that up on this campaign because this is the campaign I'll probably keep going for a long time, but kind of on the back burner since we can't meet as often. And it'll be the Labyrinth Lord game that I actually swap out for this new campaign toward the end of the summer. But that'll work out well too, because for those of y'all that are playing, you're playing basically Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition, old school right now, and then kind of how it actually naturally flowed in real life. You'll then playing Second Edition once you're kind of at that stage about 10 sessions in where you're like, all right, I get it. I want a little more complexity, so it'll be perfect. Does anyone feel like they resolved the bond this session?
Not me, no.
Nope.
I am on the road to 2 of them, but no.
Unless my bonders Edda trusted me with a secret. She gave me a torch.
I think the torch was a secret. I thought the lyre was the
secret torch. Alright, no bonds.
Definitely working on one. I might be breaking one in a not so good way.
Next up, alignment. Does anyone feel like they fulfilled their alignment?
Is accidentally rolling an orc down a stairs into a trap defeating one
You
of
didn't
them.
roll him.
No. He rolled himself. That was all. He defeated himself.
I really just wanted to just drop him on that step and just see what happened.
He did it himself. He wanted to too. Alright, no alignment. Nobody. Damn.
Uncover a hidden truth? No. Right.
See, this you guys gotta start trying to make your alignment happen, you know?
I'm trying to change my alignment, so it's getting there.
Oh, you're trying to. So you're not. You can change it whenever you want, but you're trying to role play it over there.
Yeah, I'm trying to role play the steady
Gotcha.
change.
I
It's
like
all
it.
part of my character arc.
I like it. Appreciate it. All right, let's ask the questions then. Did you learn something new and important about the world?
Orcs are immune to their own poison.
We did learn that.
Mm.
Orcs are holding up in
Well,
or
we-
around Gusabi's tomb.
Yeah,
which
we
is
learned
kind
that
of a big deal.
that they're interested in whatever is in here, and we have no idea why.
Is this the first like experience Bruce has ever had of giant stuff?
Unless you count all the times he's been headbutted by them and heirloom.
So this is kind of fucked up too for Bruce. Like, why does
I'd say
this
the other
giant's
main
tomb
character-
have children's skeletons in it?
Yeah.
And the only other thing was like the little markers that we overturned one of them.
I would say you definitely learned some shit about the world tonight. So everybody mark a XP off that. Did you overcome a notable monster or enemy?
Does a 50-foot blade swinging from a ceiling count as a...
Well, that's what I was
notable
gonna
enemy?
say. I would say overcoming a notable trap should count too.
It's not an enemy or a monster.
So, I think you guys should get credit for that. So mark XP again for that.
1 XP for walking in the door. Congratulations.
Cha-ching! And then,
Achievement unlocked.
To the door.
did you loot a memorable treasure?
I got a net.
Yeah,
You're
not
not gonna
really.
remember that after you use it.
That syringe could have been a little bit of a memorable treasure. I would even argue if it wasn't immediately used up to completely no effect.
Womp
So,
womp.
so that one's a no. Nice. Groovy. So, appreciate y'all playing as always. Always had a blast. Try to schedule it up as usual. If we could schedule like a time where we could even do a little bit of a longer session, that'd be excellent. But we can keep going with the shorter sessions too. We always manage to make some progress. But that was dope. Definitely appreciate it. And looking forward to the next. Peace. Alright. That's gonna go ahead and wrap it up for Saga Broken Blades 14. That was awesome. Had a blast as always. Appreciate anybody who tuned in as always. Was thinking about streaming some Arma right after this, but I think the wiser play is actually to get some rest. It's a very gloomy, rainy day here in Eugene, so it's a perfect day to get caught up on some relaxation. So I think that'll be all the show for today. Be back at it tomorrow. Should be doing a grandpa session if I remember correctly. Some Fallout 4 survival. Be sure to tune in for that. Y'all already supported the show in the best way by hanging out, tuning in, enjoying. I would like to thank these illustrious members of the 420 Club. Let me thank Freeborn Pat, Sabatum, Vodka, Globe 99, and Miller Duo. Big ups to y'all. Thanks for that extra Patreon support. That's that. Next those shows tomorrow. See y'all then.